Where ancient civilizations carved their legacies into stone and time itself seems to hold its breath, Syria stands as one of humanity's greatest open-air museums. This is a land where Roman theaters still echo with phantom applause, where Byzantine mosaics shimmer beneath desert sands, and where Crusader castles pierce the sky like stone daggers. From the moment you set foot on Syrian soil, you're walking through layers of history so dense, so profound, that every step feels like traveling through millennia. But Syria isn't just about the past. This is a country where the Euphrates River carves emerald valleys through golden deserts, where volcanic peaks rise like sleeping giants from fertile plains, and where Mediterranean breezes carry the scent of jasmine through streets that have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Here, Byzantine churches stand beside Umayyad mosques, Roman aqueducts feed modern cities, and the ghosts of Silk Road merchants still seem to haggle in ancient bazaars. Today, you're about to embark on a visual odyssey through 12 wonders that will redefine everything you thought you knew about beauty, history, and human achievement. From underground cities that housed thousands to mountaintop fortresses that defied entire armies, each destination will leave you questioning how one country could contain so much magnificence. Prepare yourself for a journey where every frame could be a masterpiece, every story could be a legend, and every wonder proves that some places don't just exist, they endure. The Euphrates doesn't just flow through Syria, it transforms it. As this ancient river winds its way across the country's eastern expanse, it creates something extraordinary, a ribbon of emerald paradise cutting through an otherwise golden desert landscape. From above, the contrast is breathtaking. Just imagine miles of arid terrain suddenly interrupted by this serpentine oasis where date palms tower like natural skyscrapers and wheat fields shimmer like green silk in the desert wind. This isn't just scenic beauty, this is the cradle of civilization itself. The Euphrates Valley has nurtured human settlements for over 10,000 years, making it one of the longest continuously inhabited regions on Earth. The river's life-giving waters created the Fertile Crescent, the birthplace of agriculture, writing, and urban civilization. Every bend in this mighty river has witnessed the rise of kingdoms, the march of armies, and the quiet determination of farmers whose ancestors first learned to tame the land. The engineering marvels along the Euphrates are, honestly, staggering. Ancient irrigation systems, some still functioning today, channel the river's flow through complex networks of canals that turn desert into farmland. The Tabqa Dam, a modern engineering feat, has created Lake Assad, Syria's largest body of water, stretching over 80 kilometers and supporting hundreds of thousands of people. The interplay between ancient wisdom and modern technology creates a landscape that's both timeless and dynamic. But what makes the Euphrates Valley truly magical is its role as a natural highway through time. Archaeological sites dot its banks like pearls on a string, each one revealing another chapter in humanity's story. Mari, Dura Europos, and dozens of other ancient cities rose along these waters, their ruins now standing as testament to the river's power to nurture civilization. Today, traditional fishermen still cast their nets where Mesopotamian kings once ruled, creating a living bridge between past and present that, honestly, few places on Earth can match. In southern Syria, where volcanic rock meets Roman ambition, stands Basra, a city that redefined what architectural grandeur could achieve. The centerpiece of this UNESCO World Heritage Site is nothing short of miraculous, a Roman theater so perfectly preserved that it looks like it was completed yesterday, not 1,800 years ago. But this isn't just preservation, it's resurrection. The theater, carved directly into volcanic rock and capable of seating 15,000 spectators, remains one of the best preserved Roman theaters in the world. What makes Basra's theater extraordinary isn't just its condition, it's its setting. The stage backdrop, known as the Skenai Franz, rises 3 stories high in perfect geometric harmony, its limestone facades creating a stark, beautiful contrast against the dark volcanic stone. The acoustics are so precise that a whisper from the stage can be heard clearly in the highest seats, a testament to Roman engineering that modern architects still study and, honestly, marvel at. But Basra is far more than a single theater. This ancient city served as the capital of the Roman province of Arabia, making it one of the most important trading hubs between the Mediterranean and the Arabian Peninsula. The entire city is a masterclass in urban planning: Roman baths, Byzantine churches, Umayyad mosques, and Ayyubid citadels all coexist in a harmonious blend that spans over a millennium of architectural evolution. The volcanic landscape surrounding Basra adds another layer of drama to its beauty. The city sits in the Hauran region, where ancient lava flows created the distinctive black basalt rock that gives local architecture its unique character. This volcanic heritage created incredibly fertile soil, making Basra an agricultural powerhouse that funded its magnificent monuments. Walking through Basra today feels like exploring a three-dimensional history book, where every stone tells a story of conquest, culture, and the enduring power of human creativity to transform raw rock into timeless beauty. Number 10. The Euphrates Archaeological Sites. Along the Euphrates River lies one of archaeology's greatest treasure troves, a string of ancient cities that read like a who's who of human civilization. Mari, Dura Europos, and Emar aren't just archaeological sites, they're time machines that transport you back to the very birth of urban society, international trade, and cultural exchange. Mari, dating back over 4,000 years, was once the crown jewel of Mesopotamian civilization. Its palace, covering over 6 acres, contained 300 rooms decorated with frescoes that still retain their vibrant colors after millennia buried in sand. These aren't primitive cave paintings. They're sophisticated works of art depicting everything from religious ceremonies to detailed maps of the ancient world. The palace archives contained over 20,000 cuneiform tablets, providing scholars with an unprecedented window into Bronze Age diplomacy, economics, and daily life. Dura Europos, known as the Pompeii of the desert, offers something even more remarkable, the best-preserved ancient city in the Middle East. Founded by Alexander the Great's successors, this Silk Road trading post became a melting pot where Greek, Roman, Persian, and Arabian cultures blended into something entirely unique. The city's synagogue contains the world's oldest surviving biblical art, while the Christian house church represents one of the earliest known places of Christian worship. What makes these sites extraordinary isn't just their individual significance, it's their collective story. Together, they chronicle humanity's first experiments in international trade, multicultural society, and urban planning. The Euphrates served as both highway and lifeline, connecting these cities to trade networks that stretched from China to Britain. Standing among these ruins today, you're not just looking at old stones, you're witnessing the birthplace of globalization, where merchants, scholars, and pilgrims from around the known world came together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Number 9. The Kalamun Mountains. Rising from the Syrian landscape like a natural fortress, the Kalamun Mountains create one of the most dramatic and beautiful mountain ranges in the Middle East. These aren't just hills, they're towering limestone peaks that reach over 2,800 meters above sea level, their white and pink stone faces glowing like jewels at sunrise and sunset. The range stretches for over 150 kilometers along the Lebanese border, creating a natural barrier that has shaped both geography and history for millennia. The geological story of the Kalamun is written in stone. These mountains are part of the anti-Lebanon range, formed by tectonic forces that folded and lifted ancient seabeds into the sky. The result is a landscape of incredible diversity, deep valleys carved by seasonal rivers, hidden caves that served as refuges for early Christians, and peaks so sharp they seem to cut the sky itself. The limestone composition creates a constantly changing palette of colors, from pristine white in the harsh midday sun to soft rose and gold during the golden hours. But the Kalamun's beauty isn't just geological, it's cultural. These mountains have served as a refuge for persecuted communities throughout history. Ancient monasteries cling to cliffsides like stone birds' nests, their presence a testament to faith strong enough to move mountains, or at least to build churches on them. The most famous of these is the monastery of St. Sergius and Bacchus in Malula, where Aramaic, the language of Jesus, is still spoken today. The biodiversity of the Kalamun is as impressive as its cultural heritage. These mountains support ecosystems found nowhere else in Syria, from alpine meadows carpeted with wildflowers in spring to ancient cedar and oak forests that provide cool refuge from the desert heat. Snow caps the highest peaks for months each year, creating a stunning visual contrast with the warm valleys below. The interplay of seasons, elevation, and orientation creates microclimates that support everything from Mediterranean vegetation to alpine species, making the Kalamun a living laboratory of natural adaptation and beauty. Number 8. The Umayyad Mosque of Damascus. In the heart of Damascus stands a building that redefined what sacred architecture could achieve, the Umayyad Mosque, also known as the Great Mosque of Damascus. This isn't just one of Islam's holiest sites, it's a masterpiece of artistic synthesis that took the best of Byzantine, Persian and Arabian architectural traditions and forged them into something entirely revolutionary. For over 1,300 years, this mosque has stood as proof that human creativity knows no boundaries when inspired by faith and ambition. The mosque's history begins with transformation. Built on the site of a Roman temple to Jupiter, later converted to a Christian cathedral dedicated to John the Baptist, the Umayyad Mosque represents layers of sacred tradition. When Caliph al-Walid I commissioned its construction in 705 CE, he didn't merely build a mosque, he created a statement about the new Islamic civilization's artistic and cultural achievements. The project took 10 years and employed craftsmen from across the known world, bringing together techniques and materials that had never been combined before. The visual impact is overwhelming. The mosque's courtyard, paved in white marble and surrounded by pointed arches, creates a sense of infinite space and tranquility. But it's the interior mosaics that truly take your breath away. These aren't simple decorations. They're elaborate landscapes depicting paradise, with golden cities, flowing rivers, and architectural fantasies that seem to shimmer with divine light. The mosaics cover over 4,000 square meters, making them among the largest surviving examples of early Islamic art. The mosque's 3 minarets represent different periods of Islamic architecture, creating a timeline in stone that spans centuries. The southern minaret, built by the Ayyubids, rises like a stone lighthouse over the ancient city. The acoustics inside the prayer hall are perfect, allowing the imam's voice to reach every corner without amplification. The shrine of John the Baptist, revered by both Christians and Muslims, creates a unique interfaith atmosphere that reflects Damascus's role as a crossroads of civilizations. Standing in this sacred space, you're not just witnessing architectural beauty, you're experiencing the physical manifestation of one of history's greatest cultural flowerings. Number 7. Apamea's ancient colonnades. Stretching across the Syrian countryside like a stone highway to eternity, the colonnades of Apamea create one of the most spectacular archaeological vistas in the world. This isn't just a collection of ancient columns, it's a 2-kilometer-long testament to Roman urban planning and engineering prowess that has withstood earthquakes, invasions, and the passage of 2 millennia. Walking along this ancient main street feels like strolling through the spine of a giant stone creature, each column a vertebra in an architectural skeleton that once supported one of the ancient world's most magnificent cities. Apamea was never intended to be modest. Founded by Seleucus I, one of Alexander the Great's generals and later expanded by the Romans, this city was designed to impress. At its height, Apamea housed over 500,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the ancient world. The main colonnaded street, known as the Cardo Maximus, served as both thoroughfare and stage, where merchants from across the Roman Empire displayed their wares beneath towering Corinthian columns that reached toward the sky like stone prayers. The engineering behind these colonnades reveals Roman mastery over both form and function. Each column, carved from local limestone, was precisely calculated to support not just decorative elements but also the weight of second-story galleries and shops. The spacing between columns creates perfect proportions that seem to extend infinitely into the distance, an optical illusion that makes the street appear to stretch beyond the horizon. Beneath the paved street, sophisticated drainage systems still function today, channeling rainwater away from the foundations and ensuring the survival of this architectural marvel. But Apamea's true magic lies in its ability to make you feel the presence of the past. The columns cast shadows that seem to move with ghostly figures, Roman senators in their togas, Byzantine merchants with their silk caravans, and Crusader knights on their war horses. The mosaics that once decorated wealthy homes still peek through patches of sand and grass, their intricate patterns depicting everything from mythological scenes to elaborate geometric designs. Standing at either end of the colonnades, you can see them converge toward a vanishing point that seems to exist outside of time, making Apamea not just an archaeological site, but a portal to an age when this stone forest was the beating heart of an empire. Number 6. The Crac des Chevaliers. Perched on a volcanic cone 650 meters above sea level, the Crac des Chevaliers isn't just a castle, it's the ultimate expression of medieval military architecture, a stone symphony of defense that has dominated the Syrian landscape for nearly 1,000 years. This UNESCO World Heritage Site represents the pinnacle of Crusader castle design, a fortress so perfectly conceived and executed that it remained virtually impregnable throughout its active military history, and just when you think it can't get better, wait until you see number 1. The Crack's design is a masterclass in strategic thinking translated into stone. The castle consists of 2 concentric rings of fortifications, each designed to be independently defensible. The outer wall, punctuated by massive towers, creates the first line of defense, while the inner citadel rises like a stone crown from the center of the complex. The walls aren't just thick, they're sloped to deflect siege engines and catapult stones, incorporating lessons learned from centuries of medieval warfare. What makes the Crack extraordinary isn't just its military function, it's the beauty embedded in its brutality. The Gothic chapel, with its soaring arches and delicate stonework, proves that even warriors appreciated sublime architecture. The Great Hall, capable of hosting hundreds of knights, features ribbed vaulting that creates a sense of space and grandeur that rivals any cathedral. Windows positioned to catch specific angles of light transform the interior spaces throughout the day, creating an ever-changing interplay of shadow and illumination. The view from the Crack's towers encompasses one of the most strategic landscapes in the medieval world. To the west, the Mediterranean sparkles like scattered diamonds. To the east, the Syrian plateau stretches toward ancient trading routes. This commanding position allowed the Knights Hospitaller to control the vital gap between the Orontes River Valley and the coast, making the Crack a key piece in the complex chess game of Crusader politics. The surrounding landscape, dotted with ancient olive groves and terraced hillsides, creates a pastoral setting that seems almost impossibly peaceful, given the castle's violent history. If this journey has already left you breathless, hit that subscribe button, we're only halfway through. Hidden in a dramatic gorge carved through the Kalamun Mountains, Malula represents something almost impossible to believe, a living link to the time of Jesus Christ. This tiny village, whose name means entrance in Aramaic, is one of only 3 places in the world where Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus, is still used in daily conversation. But Malula's significance goes far beyond linguistics. It's a place where early Christian architecture, stunning natural beauty, and cultural preservation create an experience that feels both ancient and eternal. The village clings to cliff sides like a collection of stone birds' nests, its traditional houses built directly into the rock face using techniques that haven't changed in centuries. The narrow streets wind between buildings that seem to grow from the mountain itself, creating an organic architecture that blurs the line between human creation and natural formation. From a distance, Malula appears to be part of the mountain, its ochre and white buildings so perfectly integrated with the limestone cliffs that they seem to have been carved by wind and time rather than human hands. The religious significance of Malula is profound. The village is home to some of Christianity's oldest surviving monasteries, including the monastery of Saint Sergius and Bacchus, which dates back to the 4th century. These aren't just historical relics. They're living spiritual centers where nuns and monks continue traditions that stretch back to the earliest days of Christianity. The monastery contains frescoes and icons that span centuries, creating a visual timeline of Christian art and devotion. The natural setting adds another dimension to Malula's beauty. The village sits in a gorge carved by geological forces over millions of years, its walls rising hundreds of meters on either side. A natural tunnel formed by erosion and tectonic activity provides the main entrance to the village, a dramatic portal that makes arrival feel like entering another world. The surrounding mountains support unique ecosystems, including alpine meadows that burst into color each spring, and ancient terraces where grapes and olives have been cultivated for millennia. Standing in Malula, surrounded by the sound of Aramaic conversation, and the sight of mountains that haven't changed since biblical times, you're experiencing something unprecedented. A direct sensory connection to the world of the New Testament. Number 4. The ancient theaters of Syria. Syria's ancient theaters aren't just archaeological sites. They're time machines that transport you to an age when drama, music, and oratory shaped the hearts and minds of entire civilizations. From the perfectly preserved Roman theater in Basra to the hillside amphitheater in Shaba, these venues represent the pinnacle of acoustic engineering and architectural beauty. Places where the human voice could reach thousands of listeners with crystal clarity, and where the staging of plays became an art form that influenced culture across the Mediterranean world. The Roman theater in Basra stands as the crown jewel of this theatrical heritage. Built into a natural hillside and enhanced with precision-cut volcanic stone, this theater demonstrates Roman engineering at its most sophisticated. The cavea, or seating area, rises in perfect geometric progression, each row calculated to provide optimal sightlines and acoustics. The orchestra, paved in marble, serves as both performance space and acoustic amplifier, while the towering skyny fronds creates a backdrop that rivals any modern stage design. But Syria's theatrical heritage extends far beyond Roman achievement. The theater at Shaba, built during the reign of Emperor Philip the Arab, represents the evolution of theatrical architecture in the 3rd century CE. Here, Byzantine influences began to merge with Roman traditions, creating design elements that would later influence Islamic architecture. The integration of the theater into the urban landscape shows how these venues served not just as entertainment centers, but as focal points for civic life and cultural identity. The acoustic properties of these theaters remain miraculous even today. In Basra, a coin dropped in the orchestra can be heard clearly in the highest seats, while a normal speaking voice from the stage carries to every corner without echo or distortion. This acoustic perfection wasn't accidental. It was the result of sophisticated understanding of sound physics, geometry, and material science that modern architects still study and struggle to replicate. Standing in these ancient theaters at sunset, when the limestone and volcanic stone glow with warm light, you can almost hear the phantom applause of audiences long dead. These weren't just buildings, they were democracy in action, places where citizens gathered to experience stories that challenged their assumptions, honored their heroes, and explored the depths of human nature. The survival of these theaters through wars, earthquakes, and the passage of millennia proves that some human achievements transcend the civilizations that created them, becoming part of our shared heritage as thinking, feeling, creative beings. Rising from the Syrian desert like a mirage-made stone, Palmyra once stood as the most magnificent trading city on the ancient Silk Road. This UNESCO World Heritage Site, known in antiquity as the Pearl of the Desert, represents the pinnacle of cultural fusion, where Roman architectural grandeur met Eastern artistic traditions to create something entirely unique. Although recent conflicts have damaged some structures, Palmyra's surviving monuments continue to demonstrate why this oasis city was considered one of the wonders of the ancient world. The Temple of Bel, despite suffering damage, remains one of the most significant religious monuments of the ancient Near East. This massive complex, covering an area larger than the Parthenon, blended Roman architectural techniques with Mesopotamian religious traditions to create a sacred space unlike anywhere else in the ancient world. The temple's unique fusion of Eastern and Western elements reflects Palmyra's role as a cultural crossroads where ideas, art forms, and religious practices merged into new expressions of human creativity. Palmyra's Great Colonnade stretches for over a kilometer through the heart of the ancient city, creating one of the most spectacular urban vistas in the archaeological world. Unlike the straight Roman colonnades found elsewhere, Palmyra's main street follows a subtle curve that creates constantly changing perspectives as you walk along its length. Each column bears carved brackets that once supported statues of local dignitaries and visiting celebrities, turning the street into a three-dimensional hall of fame that celebrated the city's cosmopolitan character. The funerary towers that dot the landscape around Palmyra represent a unique architectural tradition found nowhere else in the ancient world. These multi-story stone towers, some reaching heights of over 20 meters, served as elaborate mausoleums for wealthy Palmyrene families. The interior chambers contain some of the finest portrait sculpture from the ancient world, with carved limestone faces that capture individual personalities with startling realism and emotional depth. What made Palmyra truly extraordinary was its position as the ultimate intermediary between East and West. Chinese silk, Indian spices, Persian carpets, and Roman wine all passed through this desert metropolis, creating a wealth that funded some of the most ambitious architectural projects of the ancient world. The city's merchants didn't just facilitate trade, they created a unique culture that synthesized the best elements of multiple civilizations. Standing among Palmyra's ruins, even in their current condition, you're witnessing the physical remains of humanity's first truly global economy, a place where the ancient world came together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Dominating the skyline of one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities, the citadel of Aleppo isn't just a fortress, It's a masterpiece of military architecture that has withstood over 1,000 years of siege, earthquake, and invasion, while maintaining its position as one of the most impressive defensive structures ever built. Rising 50 meters above the surrounding city on a partially artificial hill, this UNESCO World Heritage Site represents the evolution of fortification design from the Byzantine era through the Ottoman period. The approach to the citadel is deliberately dramatic. A massive stone bridge supported by 7 arches leads to the main gate. But this isn't just an entrance, it's a gauntlet designed to humble attackers and awe visitors. The gatehouse, a masterpiece of Ayyubid military architecture, forces visitors through a series of turns and chambers where defenders could observe and, if necessary, eliminate threats. The carved decorations on the gateway, including intricate geometric patterns and calligraphic inscriptions, prove that even military architecture could achieve sublime beauty. Within the citadel walls, a complex urban landscape unfolds. The Great Mosque, built by the Ayyubid ruler Nur al-Din, features a minaret that serves both as a call to prayer and a watchtower overlooking the surrounding countryside. The throne hall, with its soaring stone arches and intricate muqarna ceiling, demonstrates how defensive architecture could also serve ceremonial functions. The palace complex, hammams, and residential quarters show that the citadel wasn't just a military installation, it was a self-contained city capable of withstanding extended sieges. The engineering innovations embedded in the citadel's design continue to impress modern architects and engineers. The foundations, built on a tell that represents thousands of years of continuous habitation, required sophisticated techniques to ensure stability on the artificial hill. The water storage and distribution systems, including underground cisterns and aqueducts, guaranteed the citadel's independence during siege conditions. The integration of natural rock formations with constructed walls created defensive positions that seemed to grow from the landscape itself. The views from the citadel's towers encompass not just Aleppo, but the entire surrounding region. To the north, the Taurus Mountains rise like a natural wall separating Syria from Turkey. To the south, fertile plains stretch toward Damascus and the Mediterranean coast. This commanding position made the citadel of Aleppo one of the most strategically important fortifications in the medieval world, a key piece in the complex political chess game that determined the fate of the Levant. Standing on the citadel's highest tower, you're occupying a vantage point that has been considered vital for over 3 millennia, making this one of the few places on Earth where you can literally see history from the perspective of kings, conquerors, and defenders who shaped the course of civilizations. In the limestone hills of northern Syria lies one of archaeology's most haunting and beautiful mysteries, the Dead Cities. These aren't ruins in the traditional sense. They're perfectly preserved Byzantine settlements abandoned over 1,400 years ago, their stone buildings standing virtually intact as if their inhabitants had simply vanished overnight. This collection of over 700 abandoned villages represents the largest concentration of preserved late antique and early Christian architecture in the world, creating a landscape where time itself seems frozen in stone. The most famous of these ghost towns is Sergila, where limestone houses still retain their wooden doors, carved windows, and decorated facades. Walking through Sergila's silent streets feels like exploring a movie set, except these buildings are real, their construction techniques and architectural details preserved in perfect detail. The village church, with its intact nave and apse, contains stone altars where Byzantine priests once celebrated Mass, while residential buildings feature courtyards, second-story galleries, and carved decorative elements that reveal the sophisticated lifestyle of their former inhabitants. Kalbloza presents perhaps the most spectacular example of early Christian architecture in the Dead Cities. Its basilica, built in the 5th century, features architectural innovations that wouldn't appear in European churches for centuries. The twin towers flanking the western facade create a silhouette that influenced church design across the Byzantine Empire, while the internal arrangement of spaces shows how Christian architects adapted classical Roman designs for liturgical purposes. The quality of stone carving, from delicate foliate capitals to intricate window tracery, demonstrates craftsmanship that rivals the greatest achievements of Byzantine Constantinople. The mystery of why these cities were abandoned adds another layer of fascination to their beauty. Theories range from economic collapse following the Arab conquest to plague or climate change, but no single explanation accounts for the simultaneous abandonment of hundreds of thriving communities. What's certain is that the inhabitants left so suddenly that they took almost nothing with them, Oil presses still contain ancient olive stones, wine vats preserve grape seeds from the 6th century, and cooking pots remain stacked in kitchen alcoves. The landscape setting of the dead cities enhances their otherworldly atmosphere. These settlements dot the limestone hills of the massif calcaire, a region where the pale stone creates natural terraces and valleys that seem designed for human habitation. Ancient olive groves, some with trees that may date back to Byzantine times, continue to produce fruit around abandoned villages, creating a pastoral beauty that feels both peaceful and melancholic. The interplay of human architecture and natural landscape, frozen at the moment of abandonment, creates vistas that seem to exist outside normal time. The preservation of organic materials in these dry limestone environments has created an archaeological goldmine. Wooden beams, door frames, and shutters remain in place after 14 centuries, while carved stone details retain their original sharpness. The churches contain some of the finest examples of early Christian art, including carved reliefs, mosaic fragments, and architectural sculpture that influenced religious art across the Mediterranean world. Standing in these silent villages, surrounded by buildings that housed families, merchants, and pilgrims over a millennium ago, you're experiencing something unprecedented. A direct, physical connection to the daily life of the Byzantine Empire at its height. These dead cities represent more than archaeological significance. They're a meditation on permanence and impermanence, on the ambitions of civilizations, and the relentless passage of time. The builders of Syria, Kalb Loze, and hundreds of other villages constructed their homes and churches with the obvious intention that they would last forever. The quality of construction, the beauty of decoration, and the sophistication of urban planning all speak to communities confident in their future. Their abandonment reminds us that even the most solid achievements of human civilization are temporary, while their preservation proves that beauty, once created, can transcend the societies that gave it birth. Syria emerges from this journey not as a single story but as a symphony, a complex composition where Roman grandeur harmonizes with Islamic artistry, where Byzantine spirituality meets desert pragmatism, and where ancient wisdom speaks to modern hearts across the centuries. This is a land that refuses simple categories, where every stone tells multiple stories and every landscape reveals layers of meaning that could take lifetimes to fully understand. From the life-giving waters of the Euphrates to the silent streets of the dead cities, each wonder we've explored represents a different facet of human achievement. The engineering marvels of Apamea and the Crac des Chevaliers show us the power of human ambition translated into stone. The cultural fusion of Palmyra and the Umayyad Mosque demonstrates how civilizations can create beauty by embracing diversity rather than fearing it. The preservation of Aramaic in Malula and the acoustic perfection of ancient theaters remind us that some human achievements transcend their original purpose to become part of our shared heritage. What makes Syria extraordinary isn't just the individual magnificence of these places, it's the way they weave together to tell the story of human civilization itself. This is where agriculture was born, where cities first rose, where alphabets were invented, and where the great religions found their voice. Every empire that mattered left its mark here, not through destruction but through contribution, adding new chapters to an ever-expanding story of human creativity and endurance. The resilience evident in these stones, their ability to survive conquests, earthquakes, and the passage of millennia, reflects something essential about the human spirit. The same creative force that carved the theaters of Basra, raised the walls of the Crac, and carved Malula from living rock continues to inspire us today. These aren't just monuments to the past, they're proof that beauty, once created with love and skill, becomes eternal. Standing in any of these 12 wonders, you're not just a tourist. You're a pilgrim in the temple of human achievement, a witness to the endless capacity of our species to transform raw materials into transcendent beauty. Syria doesn't just contain wonders. It is a place where the deepest currents of human history continue to flow beneath landscapes that seem to glow with accumulated wisdom and accumulated beauty. If this journey amazed you, subscribe and share it with someone who loves discovery. Some places you visit, others stay with you forever. Until the next destination, stay curious.